This is an Empty Closet Radio podcast. Get more at facebook.com/emptyclosetradio.
Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Sam.
And this is The Empty Closet.
The show for everyone, whether you're in the closet
Or out and proud.
or somewhere in between.
101.9 Coast FM. You're in The Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. Sam, we're around my coffee table today, and God, there's a lot of people here.
Yes, we are doing once again a couch show, and we have extensive guests and tag-alongs.
Well, I invited one person, which is Jessie Cook, to talk about the Taming of the Shrew, and now we've got a room full of fun people. It's amazing.
It's fabulous. Now, look, if you do want to catch up on any past episodes, those that just have Andrew and I, or those that are full of people, you can go and look at, or look for, rather, don't look at the podcast. Looking at it won't do you much good. You can listen to it.
You have to listen to it. It's a very auditory experience.
Especially the sex toy episode. It's pretty fabulous. It's a while back now. We should do another one. Just look for Empty Closet Radio on your favourite podcasting app and subscribe. You'll find all the episodes there. Or you can look us up on social media, the big blue book of faces, Empty Closet Radio. Hit the like button, or at emptycloset_AU, all lowercase, on the blue Tweety bird.
Right now, let's get started with a little bit of music.
All my dreams are just some fragile things that people win.
Empty Closet Radio. Listen to us using your TuneIn radio app on your smartphone. Very smart.
101.9 Coast FM. You're in The Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam, and joining us in the closet is Jessie Cook. Jessie, you are here on behalf of Tropical Arts. What is it that you do at Tropical Arts exactly?
I'm the producer and president of Tropical Arts, so my role is to market the shows, pull together the finances, do the grant writing, and just keep everything rolling on schedule.
And of course, we've talked about Tropical Arts in the past. Can you just tell me a little bit again about what it is that makes Tropical Arts unique? What do they do?
Tropical Arts is a community non-for-profit theatre company. It is one of the most diverse companies in the region. Our motto is anyone who wants to be on stage can be on stage. We don't hold auditions. We just have an open door policy, which does allow for our casts and our crew, etc., to be extremely diverse and come from any walks of life with or without theatre experience.
And so that's kind of led to having a very interesting ensemble in the show, hasn't it? Like, I know you've been running this for a few years, so in some of the past shows that I've seen, we've had some of the main characters performing. But I remember one was in a wheelchair and still performed in one of the main roles. Do we have more? Will we see more of that in this year's show?
Yeah, we have a fantastic partnership with ARC Disability Services, and many of their young adults come and take part in our theatre productions. Doug Robbins, who was the young man you just spoke about, is in this year's production again in a comedic role. He does get beaten up quite a bit, which is funny to slap down the guy in the wheelchair, but it's comedy, so that's what we do.
I'm not sure that's perhaps the attitude that we should be taking.
For anyone playing along at home, please don't go and slap down people who are in wheelchairs. It's not a very nice thing to do.
It's a character. That's what he does in that character. He is the servant to one of the lords. And that's a role that he's taken to really well. In past productions, he's, played lords and masters and stuff, and a lot of serious characters. And this time we've put him in a very comedic role, which has given him the opportunity to grow and express himself as a performer. But yes, we do have continuing on our partnership with DSQ, that's Deaf Services Queensland. Our shows are completely Auslan interpreted. The shows, we have 3 out of our 10 performances signed into Auslan, and they are accessible to the deaf.
So that means, you can come along. When you're booking, do you know which of the shows are going to be the accessible ones?
Absolutely. If you jump on the website that sells tickets in cans, you can find out exactly what shows are going to be Auslan interpreted, but they are opening night, the Wednesday matinee, and closing night.
And so when you're kind of preparing and rehearsing, obviously there's a whole lot of work that goes into running a production like this. Do you also have a big team of people behind you preparing the sets and, getting everything ready?
Absolutely. We have like huge teams of people, parents, friends of cast and crew that come on board right from the beginning of the rehearsal process, which the rehearsal process begins in August. But the script editing, the design concepts start right at the beginning of the year, as they take months to sort of, formulate and to boil down into the vision that we're going to put onto stage. We have a fantastic designer this year, Fiona Price, who, by coincidence, is actually our neighbour. So we just have this fantastic sort of constant creative discussion in our design studio, which is the underside of our house. So she just comes under, we open up a bottle of wine and we discuss, what we're going to be doing for that week.
Like all good community projects, just comes together in somebody's backyard.
I was going to say, this sounds like the way we should be doing the show more often, Andrew, and perhaps something we can take on board, possibly.
Yeah, I think so. We've been doing the show from my house quite a few times, actually, lately, Sam.
Or mine. You're on 101.9 Coast FM and you're in the Empty Closet.
Empty Closet Radio. Like us on Facebook.
You're on 101.9 Coast FM. You're in the Empty Closet on Andrew's couch with Andrew and Sam, and we are talking to Jesse about his fabulous show, Andrew.
That's right. Jesse is the director and, general everything. Oh, wait, I'm getting corrected.
Producer. Jesse is the producer.
He does everything for this show, apparently. No, he's got a team of people. There's a team of people. It's through Tropical Arts, and the show that you're putting on this year is The Taming of the Shrew, which, of course, is a Shakespeare show, isn't it?
Now, for those of us who perhaps studied a different Shakespeare play in high school, can you actually recap this one, because I never had to read it?
Rebellious, recalcitrant, and self-righteous, Catherine the Shrew is unmarriageable. Who could possibly match her so that her younger, beautiful, dutiful sister Bianca can have her turn to marry? Only Petruchio is bold and strange enough to take up Kate's dowry. He marries her and then tries to tame her into being the perfect partner in life. As the battle of will ensues, the battle of wits plays out, with Bianca's suitors donning disguises to win her love and secure her parents' permission. Nobody is what they seem. Tropical Arts explores this controversial comedy through the prism of commedia dell'arte, a little bit of slapstick and a whole new look at the world of making matches.
Is it one of the comedies, or is it one of the tragedies of Shakespeare?
It's one of the comedies. There's a lot of slapstick humour in this. And how it plays out is in a very comedic fashion. It isn't no one dies like Macbeth. People get married. People end up being happy. But you can come and watch the play to see how that all unfolds.
When you talk about slapstick, you did mention somebody getting beaten up in a wheelchair. So I'm going to assume that that's part of it.
Yes.
And Jesse, is it I know some of the shows that you put on in the past have had quite a big, quite a big well, I guess it's not really a chorus line for Shakespeare. Casts, an ensemble, that's the word. Tell me more about what are some of the interesting parts of the ensemble that we should look out for this time?
Our partnership with ARC really feeds into building those ensembles. So they form important groups of cast that keep the story moving. They might be coming in carrying messages. They might be coming in to bring the food into Petruchio. They act as servants, shopkeepers, messengers, the household. They form an interesting they form an interesting ensemble which fills the space. I mean, Tank 3 is such a large space that you do need a large cast to fill it and make it feel alive. A cast of, 4 people would not bring that space to life necessarily.
Speaking of the space inside the Tanks Art Centre, I went in there the other day and it's all set up different every single time that I go in there. Like, sometimes there's like chairs everywhere, sometimes there's curtains hanging all different places. How are you guys going to set up the stage for this production?
In the past, our sets and staging has been very open, very raw, because those curtains haven't existed. The curtains that are in there now have come from the demolished Civic Theatre, so that has added in a new, a new element and something new to play with. So we have utilised those curtains because they are gorgeous black and red curtains that have allowed us to redesign the space and given us something new to work with. So we have utilised those gorgeous red curtains, and all the arrangement of this year's stage is completely different to how we've had it in the past. For the past 8 years, or the past 8 shows, it's been in a semicircle, and this year it's in a V. So we are trying new things with the new space that we have.
So with a V-shaped kind of stage, does that mean that you're able to kind of interact with the audience in new and different ways?
Yeah, and it creates new acting spaces. You can bring people right into the bottom of the V, right into the center of the action. Creates new sightlines and new perspectives, and it's just been a real challenge to completely rejig our thinking when we design our plays. So it's been a different year, but this new layout is something I think we're going to keep for years to come as we have those curtains to play with.
You're on 101.9 Coast FM in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam, and we're speaking with Jessie Cook from Tropical Arts, speaking about their show, The Taming of the Shrew.
I lost you once. Empty Closet Radio, because no one else wants to be stuck in the closet. God.
Coast FM, you're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. Joining us in the closet right now is Jessie Cook. Jessie, you're part of Tropical Arts, which produce a new Shakespeare play every year, and you've been doing it for the last 9 years, so this is your 9th show that you've put on. Tell me, what are some of the highlights from your time with Tropical Arts?
Personally, some of my highlights working with Tropical Arts, I came into Tropical Arts back in 2010. I was sort of dragged in by a friend of mine from uni who was doing a show with Tropical Arts. It was his second, and he said, come along to rehearsals, this is cool, this is really something different. And I did, and the show was Romeo and Juliet. I walked into the rehearsal space for the very first time and met Avril Duck, the director, and they were doing some very weird things. They were using the Force. And that was the twist of that year's play was sci-fi. It was Romeo and Juliet and sci-fi. Instead of weapons, they used the Force to fight with. So that was my first year with Tropical Arts, and just my experience with how different this company was. And then through the years, I would get more acting roles, leads, and I began to grow a real passion for community theatre and for the company in general. And I wanted to learn more, so I began taking on production roles and wanted to learn more and more and more until this, led to this point today where I'm the president and producer of the company. So, the journey has just been so fantastic, and I've learned so much along the way. And I think every year, is just one big milestone, one big memory, because they're just stepping up each year and learning more and more and more. It's just been absolutely fantastic.
And have you made, because I know, like you say, you got into it because of somebody you knew, but have you made friends there that you've kind of kept outside of theatre?
Yeah, I've, met so many new people, from different, walks of life that and it really expanded my theatre friends group, and that which has really become part of my core friend group now. So transitioning out of high school, a lot of my friends moved down to Brisbane, and so I didn't have a close group of friends left. They all went off to follow their own lives, and so going into theatre, I met similar people with similar passions, and have been friends, and a lot of them have been in the company from when I joined afterwards, and are still in it now, and are still cherished friends. Yeah.
And I know when I went along to one of the Tropical Arts fundraisers, there was a little bit of a saying that gets thrown around at Tropical Arts about what theatre can do. Tell me a bit more about how that came about.
The famous, infamous quote, "Theatre is the answer to everything." Now, that wasn't a saying that I made up. It was something that I heard. It was Avril Duck, who is the founding member of Tropical Arts and the artistic director. It was her voicemail. So every time you would, try and call her and not get her, you would get that in the voicemail. Theatre is the answer to everything. And it just stuck in my mind, and it became, and then she changed her voicemail, I don't know, a year, 2 years ago. So it sort of dropped out of circulation for a little bit. And then the beginning of this year, when I was doing the business cards, I think I needed a byline, for the company. And that was the first thing that came to mind. So.
And what sorts of things have you seen theatre answer for you, perhaps in your personal life, or perhaps what are some of the things you've seen theatre answer for some of the people that have been working together in Tropical Arts?
For me and probably many others, theatre makes you feel better about yourself. It provides an escape from reality. It creates a safe place to go to be with like-minded people. Tropical Arts being the diverse company that it is, we have people within our company with various mental, physical disabilities, visible and not. And for me personally, as someone that goes through ups and downs with anxiety and depression, that all washes away when you're on stage. And theatre was the answer to that. It brings joy to people's lives by being in it, watching it. It's just the answer to everything.
Well, look, Jesse, we are so glad that you could come and join us in the Empty Closet and tell us a bit more about the Taming of the Shrew and Tropical Arts. And I'm so glad that there are theatre companies like yours that encourage people to just have a go. Now, the Taming of the Shrew does start this weekend. What's the first possible opportunity for us to go and see it?
The Taming of the Shrew opens this Friday, the 21st of October at Tank 3. Doors open 6:30, show starts at 7, and yes, there are still some tickets available, so get in fast. But the season does run to the 29th, so just jump online or check us out on Facebook to get those tickets.
Absolutely, and we're going to put all the links to Tropical Arts so that you can have a look and see exactly what you've been up to and how to get your hands on some of those tickets to the show.
You're on 101.9 Coast FM and you're in the Empty Closet.
Empty Closet Radio, facebook.com/Empty Closet Radio.
You're on 101.9 Coast FM. You're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. And we did have a very crowded closet, but they've all abandoned us briefly.
That's because they're all filling their lungs with smoke and cancer.
Gross. So gross. Can you tell I'm not a smoker? Now, Andrew, I've been very busy the last week or so.
Yeah, so busy that you didn't come and do the show with me. I was all alone, Sam.
Yes, my for those of you who aren't aware, phones don't always react well with water, even when they're meant to be waterproof. Even if you don't actually put them in the water. And so I was uncontactable Poor Andrew.
I had no idea. I felt abandoned, lost in the wilderness, Sam. But actually, I was not the one that was in the wilderness. You were in the wilderness. Where did you go?
Okay, so I had long-time listeners of the show will remember that, you know, around this time last year or a few weeks later, I was in Europe. I was abandoning Andrew once again, but for longer than one episode, and wandering around. And I met somebody, and I talked about her on the show. I met someone in Oxford, and she introduced me to my favourite gays on the trip, blah, 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 blah. Well, she always said that she'd come and visit, and she didn't actually expect to come and visit within 12 months, but she did. So she came over with another friend who she'd met through work, and I hadn't met yet, and they were in Cairns for 10 days, and I showed them around. I played the tour guide.
Sam's personal tour guide. I can imagine the things that would be on that. He'd be like, this is the spot where this happened and it was amazing, and this is the spot where that happened and it was amazing, plus all the standard stuff.
Yeah, well, they decided on the first day that there was nothing I didn't know, and I tried desperately to disabuse them of that notion, but I failed miserably.
I heard that you went horse riding. Did you know all about horses as well?
Well, Ella, one of the girls, is an avid horsewoman, so I didn't need to because there was already an actual expert in the car, which is pretty fabulous. But no, we went up to Cape Tribulation and we did horse riding on the beach, and I have to say I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. But I also discovered that apparently by the standards of, you know, beginner rides, I'm no longer a beginner because I actually know how to steer a horse and I know how to trot and canter. And that makes me now an intermediate, and I'm like, I am not an intermediate horse rider.
You're intermediate because the horse doesn't want to run away from you?
No, it's not so much about the horse. It's the fact that most people who do that, that's their only time, that's their first time on a horse or their second time. Whereas I've never owned horses, but I've known plenty of people who do, and I've been on and off horses to a point, you know, my whole life.
I think I've been on a horse like maybe 2 or 3 times, and every single time that I go on a horse, I feel so uncomfortable because it's so, like, there's so much that you feel like you're not in control of, like, especially when you compare it to, say, riding the motorbike, which is how I normally get around. There's so much where you're like, oh, I'm actually not in control of this. I have to hand it over to another creature.
See, I kind of like that because then I don't have to focus absolutely all the time. I can like, oh, look, there's a pretty bird and whatever, and I'm not going to drive into a tree because the horse is hopefully not going to want to walk into the tree. So
what if the horse sees the pretty bird? Then we're stuffed.
Then we direct the horse. But no, it was really, really good, and we stopped at a few beaches on the way back, and it was just after, it had been really windy, so the water had been quite choppy, and they still liked it, and I'm like, that's because you've been living in the UK and you don't know what pretty ocean is. And then the water, the wind died down, the water went that real crystal blue-green, you know, and then I was like, this is what the ocean is meant to look like.
And then they were like, oh wow, we just thought that was in photoshopped pictures.
Well, they kept saying every day, they were like, this is the greatest day ever, and I'm like, literally, you say that every morning.
Yes, I can imagine. Well, you know, they have a personal tour guide showing them around one of the most beautiful places in the world. Why wouldn't they say that? Also,
there was baby koalas and things like that.
Did they get to hold them?
They didn't get to hold the baby koala. Oh, they got to hold a koala that was about a year and a half old, and then a baby crocodile.
Did it scratch their face off / eat them, the crocodile?
No.
Oh, that's disappointing.
I'm not sure that it is, really. You're on 101.9 Coast FM and you're in the empty closet.
Empty Closet Radio, because no one wants to be stuck in the closet.
101.9 Coast FM, you're in the empty closet with Andrew and Sam. Now, Sam, we were talking about how you've been travelling around with your friends who have been visiting from overseas, and one of the things that you do when you go to a new place is you always check out the nightlife. So you took them to a couple of venues in Cairns, which we won't mention which ones. One of them, which I have not been to for years. Like, I went there, I'm pretty sure, basically by mistake, when I first got to Cairns and I was staying in a backpackers, and it was like right next door, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's just go and eat there. And then I realized why I had no inclination to go there. But something interesting happened in this backpackers, in this venue that you were at. Do tell.
Okay, so, one of my friends, who shall remain unnamed, Name starts with A. If you're listening, she was quite avidly pursued by two different people, and one was a guy who didn't really want to take no for an answer on the dance floor, so we just kept dancing around her. So he was doing the laps of the room, and kept sidling up and just started kissing her neck, and we're like, this is weird, go away.
What, without even saying hello? Just, let me nibble on your neck. Gross.
Yeah, and you say that gay boys are fast, and apparently they have nothing on some straight boys.
Gay boys just come up to you and take your shirt off for you and then dance.
Potentially bi boys, or pan boys. I don't want to assume that they're straight just because they're hitting on a woman. But she took herself off to the loo after that, and one of the girls in the line just about convinced her to
Hey, what about it?
Well, I don't actually know. She wasn't convinced. She's like, if it's too easy, I'm put off. But, somebody who was really keen to just have a go in the bathroom.
Come for a visit in my lady garden, that kind of thing.
That's a terrible innuendo, but yes, pretty much.
So I wonder if that's a common occurrence. Is that something that happens to her all the time?
She's very attractive.
Yeah, that probably explains why no one ever propositions me in a bathroom.
I did like the point you made, because we were talking about this, that, this is something that kind of happened in the girls' bathroom, but probably is less likely to happen in the boys' bathroom, because
girls' bathroom of a straight pub. So then thinking about the boys' bathroom of a straight pub, of which I don't normally go to because I feel threatened. But I wonder if the same thing happened.
No, and that's exactly the point, is that kind of no homo bullshit attitude that some guys have would make that quite a dangerous proposition. That's not to say that there are some women who wouldn't react violently to other women hitting on them, but it seems like it's less common.
Well, I can say that I've never had anyone hit on me in a toilet at a straight venue.
I don't know what to say to that.
At a gay venue, that might be a different story, but I think that's kind of because everybody knows what's going on anyway.
There's bowls of condoms in the toilets at the gay venue, Andrew.
I didn't see them there. Oh well, anyway, that's neither here nor there. You know what I mean anyway. It's just I think that I would probably get my face smashed in if I tried to, even if I was completely convinced that the guy was gay and was interested, I would be too scared to approach him and talk to him about that.
Yeah, and that's not a positive thing. So I'm going to drag this conversation back to positivity, or we could be here all night discussing horrible things. I got to plug the show on our trip as well, because I went down to Paranella Park, and I'd never been, because Anna had done some Googling, and she'd been like, oh, look, there's a Spanish castle, let's go there. So we went to the castle, and unfortunately Marina Mirage was not working.
Yeah, it's such a shame. I love it when she's directing the traffic in.
I know, she's fabulous. But I got to talk to some co-workers, because they were like, where are you from? What are you up to? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I know Marina Mirage. It's like a celebrity. Name dropping, and got to how do you know? And I'm like, oh, well, I have this radio show, Oh, okay. And then talking, tour guiding bit, and the next quiet bit. So when's the radio show on? What channel's the radio show on? I'm like, well, you don't get channel down here, but we have a podcast.
And that would explain why we have one new podcast person. Excellent.
Woohoo! We're converting people one podcast at a time. But no, it was really good, and it was a gorgeous place, and it was fun to spend some time there.
You know what my favourite thing there is?
What?
This is going to make me sound so geeky, but you know how they've got the big waterfall, right? And they've got a hydroelectric generator thing. It was one of the first hydroelectric generators in Queensland, arguably perhaps the first one in Australia.
It was the first one in Queensland. I don't know if it was the first one in Australia, but we got to do a little tour of it. We went down and had a look.
I didn't manage to get to that bit. I'll have to go back.
You will. You're on 101.9 Coast FM, and you're in the empty closet.
Empty Closet Radio, 9 p.m. Tuesdays, 101.9 Coast FM.
I just wanna feel your love.
101.9 Coast FM, you're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. Now, Sam, we have been talking a little bit about travel and all kinds of other fun things today. You mentioned to me that you're going on holidays not to little Melbourne town, as I was hoping, but to Sydney town. What do you plan to see?
So, well, I plan to see my two friends again because I'm meeting back up with them for a few days because I happen to have some time off work, which is fortunate. And, basically, the thought was, we were tossing up between Melbourne and Sydney, and I apologise, Andrew, but I kind of went, Sydney I know more people, and it seems like there's more tourist stuff to do, whereas Melbourne seems like somewhere that I'm going to go to visit people and just go to a bunch of coffee shops.
Very cool coffee shops, I must say, and cool people.
Yes, but perhaps not what I'd be doing if I'm showing tourists around.
No, I think you're probably right. I think there's a whole lot more kind of attractional things to go and look at in Sydney versus Melbourne, as much as I do love Melbourne because my heart is there.
So I've been asking the girls what they want to do while we're down there, and, we might go for a walk across the bridge, and we might do this, we might do that. What I would like to do is go back to the Australian Museum and go back to some of the art galleries and things like that.
I loved the art gallery, the National Gallery that's in the Domain Parklands. Oh, it's amazing there. You should take them there. There's like so much, there's something for everyone. There's like a modern section, and there's a bit where they've got the more kind of traditional like sculptures and stuff. Show them the Cubist drawings. They're amazing.
I think that my uncle used to live near there because we used to go there quite a bit, actually, anytime we went to Sydney, although he's moved away now. Great sads. But the other thing that I kind of thought about doing was they're keen on nightlife. Look, I'm not a big clubber, Andrew. I don't really need to go out. But it does have Australia's oldest pubs, and it has a fairly thriving rainbow scene.
Well, I must say, I have never... Oh, God. This is confession time. Don't take away my gay card.
Gas.
I have never gone out on Oxford Street at night time. Like, ever. I have walked down Oxford Street during the middle of the day, and I was like, oh, my God, there's so many rainbow flags, and the sun was shining. It was so sunny. And so there were, like, all these people that were, like, out on their balconies and stuff, and, like, you know, in the little front of the cafes and things. So it was nice and sociable, but I must say I didn't feel like it was overly queer oriented.
So it wasn't like Rick and Steve?
No, well, yeah. So make sure you look up on Rick and Steve where they go from regular Lahunga Beach to West Lahunga Beach, because suddenly everything goes from being grey and drab to gay and rainbow and fabulous, because apparently they go to the gay ghetto and that's what we do, make everything colourful and fabulous.
I'd like to remind you do have a lot of colour and rainbows in your house, and they're not all purchased for you by other people.
Yes, that is true. I do also have a lot of white in my house.
Yeah, but that's because that's the basic colour scheme. You can't change that because you rent.
Yeah, because the person who built this house evidently loved white.
Indeed. But so that's kind of the plan. I would like to do the chocolate cafes because I love chocolate cafes, and go to the Spanish Quarter, so to speak, because my aunt lives down there and she used to live in South America, and she keeps trying to put me on to Spanish and South American food. And so, yeah, I'm going to give that a shot. We'll see how it goes.
I've never been there, so you'll have to tell me. And if you do go out at night time on Oxford Street, make sure you tell me what that's like. That sounds really fun.
With my luck, it will be terrible because I seem to have a bad run of luck when I go out. But I will. Look, if anybody listening has any advice for me, please feel free to drop us a line. Contact us on any social media platform, the Big Blue Book of Faces or the Blue Tweety Bird.
And you can find us on those just by searching for Empty Closet.
You're on 101.9 Coast FM, and you're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. Empty Closet Radio. Follow us on Twitter.
101.9 Coast FM, you're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam, and today we've been talking about tropical arts and their upcoming performance of the Taming of the Shrew. Make sure you do get along. It starts on Friday night and it runs, they've got 10 performances, so there's plenty to choose from. Make sure you go to perhaps to one of the accessible ones and see how they do it, how they make, how they translate everything using sign language. I always think that's fascinating, and I always learn new sign words when I go. If you would like to catch up on any of our past episodes or re-listen to anything that's been in this episode, make sure you do add our podcast to your podcasting app. Just search for Empty Closet Radio, hit the subscribe button, and you'll get all our latest episodes as I add them online.
And if you do have any advice for me on my trip to Sydney, please feel free to contact us on social media. You'll also find the links for the Taming of the Shrew up there as well. So on the big blue book of faces, you're looking for Empty Closet Radio, hit the like button. If you're on the blue Tweety Bird, at emptycloset_AU, all lowercase. You're on 101.9 Coast FM, and you're in the Empty Closet.
Thanks for listening to The Empty Closet, brought to you by 1019 Coast FM Cairns.